Tucher Sebaldus Weizen.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. This is a beer from the Tucher Brewery in Nuremberg, or from Nuremberg, and it is their Sebaldus Weizen, which they've described as a helles Hefe. Now, I'm not sure what's going on with this, but a couple of people have told me this is a rebranded version of the Weizen that they used to do. Now, if anybody is familiar with the beer they used to sell in the Wetherspoons pubs in the UK, you would know that you could get bottles of the Tucher Weissbier or Weizen. Well, they should have called it Weissbier, but I think it was called Weizen. I can't remember. But that's where I first discovered wheat beer, German wheat beer, was in a Wetherspoons pub, and it was the Tucher or the Tucher Bräu stuff that I tried. In fact, this glass may or may not have been liberated from a Wetherspoons pub, but that's beside the point. If you want to fucking prosecute me, you're going to have to get some evidence. Anyway, you never take me alive, copper. Anyway, the rumours going around is that this is a rebranded, labelled Weizen from the Tucher Brewery. Now, if it is, then fair enough, because if it's the stuff that I used to drink in the Wetherspoons, it's going to be really good. But I have tried two other beers. You've seen the reviews from the Tucher Brewery, and they've really not been good. They've been very sulphurous and all that, and that's not characteristic of what I remember from the Weizens. What I will say about the Weizens, there is a drinking game called the Hour of Power. Now, I'm not recommending you try this, but try it. No, I'm not really, honestly. I'm not going to be responsible for anything that happens, but it's called the Hour of Power. And what it is, you get a shot glass and you fill out a shot glass full of beer and you drink a shot glass of beer every minute for an hour. And unless you're a seasoned drinker or you've got quite a big constitution, that will fuck you up big time. And you usually have it after you've had a few. That's like, that puts the rubber stamp on the night, if you know what I mean. But I rubbished it. I laughed at it when someone told me about it. And one night we tried to do it in a Wetherspoons, me and a couple of mates. And I didn't feel right for a couple of days afterwards. It was that intense. And you're supposed to try it if you know. You're supposed to try it with a very weak beer. But I tried it with I think it was a 5.2 or 5.5% Tucher wheat beer. Fucking hell. I was out of my nut. Anyway, enough about that. Let's investigate this beer. Now, if you want to, I know I normally give a brief history of the brewery and all that, but if you want a history of the Tucher Brewery, look at the other Tucher reviews that I've done. I'll give you a bit more information on there. Nuremberger Sebaldus Weizen, Hefe Hell von Tucher. So that means from Nuremberger Sebaldus. I think he was a saint of something. I don't know what. Weizen, Hefe Hell, wheat yeast, a light wheat yeast from Tucher. Now, Oyinga do something similar. They call it a Lecter Weiss or Weiss Lecter or something like that. And that's like a 3.5 wheat beer. Really nice. And I sort of thought when I got this, it was similar, but this is 6%. So if anything, it's fucking stronger. So I don't know what they're trying to do. If you're trying to get me to do the hour of power with this, it ain't going to happen, son. Everything's in German. And that's it. 500ml bottle, 6%. That, you know, they love all the fucking religion on the front of the labels. They love all that, don't they? Sebaldus, never heard of him. He looks like he should be in a band called Amon Amarth or Lamb of God or something, dressed like that. Got the beard for it anyway. And that's about it really. So let's get it open. Let's see what it's like. There's the cap. Hefe. Helles Hefe. Light yeast. Light yeast. Oh, so maybe it's not as flavour intense. Who knows? I really don't know. I should have researched this, but I just thought, let's get this down my fat Gregory Peck. 6% though, that is a little strong for a Hefeweizen. Now, that certainly does look like a Hefeweizen. There's obviously yeast in the bottom of that. I want to see what it smells like first. Yeah, and that's nice. That's what I know from Weissbier. Lovely big banana and clove flavour. That smells really nice. Now there's a little bit left in the bottle. This is the way you do it. You just give it a little swig, a little wiggly wig, as Terry Tibbs would say. And you just pour that yeasty goodness into the glass. And in the words of Peter Griffin, there you go. There you go, Lois. Lovely. That looks like the perfect wheat beer. Nice 3-finger, tightly packed, foamy white head. Really nice banana and clove aroma. That smells really good. Let's get it down the hatch. Zum Wohl, as they say in Germany. Yeah, that's what I remember from Tucher. This is what they do really well. Now, if you look at my other two videos about the Chris Kindle marked beer and their Helles, they really got bad marks because they just didn't taste good. This, on the other hand, is a really good wheat beer. And I remember the stuff they sold in the Witherspoons. I really should have researched that, whether they just relabeled it, but it does taste very similar. Remember, the first thing I did notice about it, it wasn't as full bodied as the Weihenstephaner or the Schneiderfeis, but what it lacked in body, it made up for in flavour, and it was really good. Yeah, nice. It hasn't got it hasn't got the big bubblegum sweetness, really big sweet banana and clove esters, but they are there, I will say that. And it is good. And being a 6% beer, there's no trace of the ethanol at all. You're just getting the big wheat and banana and clove aromas and flavours. The big wheat, you're just getting the big wheat, banana, clove aromas. There is some maltiness to it, but it's not massive. Carbonation is there, it's not obtrusive, and it's just a good, solid German wheat beer. Really nice. And And yeah, I'd have no problem drinking this all night. I could do 4 or 5 bottles of that. Fucking wouldn't even touch the sides. That's really nice. And this is the good thing I remember from Tucher. Now, I don't want to keep labouring this point about the 2 beers that I ordered, the Helles and the Marts and the Christmas beer. But that really did put me on a downer with Tucher. I was of the opinion that this lot couldn't do anything wrong. But I'll freely admit, they really did drop the ball with them 2 beers. But the reputation that they had and why I really held them in high esteem was because of these wheat beers that they do. And it really is a shame that they don't sell this in the Wetherspoons anymore, because when they did, that was what I'd drink all night. And I make no bones about it, I've drank 8 or 9 of them in a night and wanted more. That's how good they are. You know, I wouldn't say it's a session beer. I mean, the next morning wasn't pretty, but you can do that sort of thing. And, you know, people talk about session ales and all that, and, you know, it's debatable how long you will class a session as. You know, I could say, you know, I could probably drink this for a whole evening and not have a problem. Drinking it all day, yeah, I'd sort of start flagging. But I don't remember it being 6%. So I'm not sure whether they've upped the ABV, whether this is a completely different wheat beer. I mean, as I say, they've called it a Helles Hefe. And in my mind, I had visions of this being like a crystal Weiss or something like that. But it's not. I mean, that you've only got to look at that. You know that's not a crystal Weiss. That is a true Bavarian Hefeweizen. And it's really nice, I have to say. Absolutely no complaints whatsoever. It's doing everything I would expect from a Bavarian wheat beer, and it does remind me of the stuff they used to sell in the Wetherspoons. And it was really cheap as well. I think it was, you know, I'm only going back about, it was shortly after the Brexit referendum. So that would have been 2017. So I'm only going back about 3 years. And it was, I think it was £2.10 for a bottle, which I think is a fucking bargain in anyone's books. And I always used to go, and that was my drink for, well, a year, possibly even more. And I've had a few strange experiences with it. I've always been offered a pint glass, and I've always asked for a thin style glass. Somebody asked me once, it must have been when I first started seeing my missus, that was about 7 or 8 years ago. And they said, did I want some orange in the side of it? And I wanted to cry. And I didn't, you know, she was just working behind the bar in the Wetherspoons. And I really am not that sort of person to go and start getting all high and mighty and say, well, you know, you shouldn't be putting orange in wheat beer and all this. But I just said, no, I definitely don't want a fucking orange in the side of it. But yeah, it's just one of them wheat beers. It's a solid wheat beer. Whoever was doing the buying for Wetherspoons really did seek out a good wheat beer that not many people have heard of before. And I would never have heard of it. I'd never heard of Tucher before if it wasn't for Wetherspoons. So, you know, I have to give them credit for that. But yeah, and this, as I say, the point that I'm fucking skirting round but trying to get to is that this reminds me of the stuff you used to get. And because of that, you know, it's just a fucking solid wheat beer. Nothing bad about that at all. So what's the verdict on Sebaldus Weizen? Well, I really need to, or I should have researched whether this is just a relabelled wheat beer that they used to do for the Wetherspoons. Maybe not, who knows. But it does remind me of what it used to be. And it's really nice. I don't care whether it says Helles Hefe light wheat. Well, you know, I suppose they could put that as opposed to a Dunkelweizen. You know, that's just arguing with semantics or whatever you want to call it. But it's a good one. Really is good. Of course, it conforms to the Reinheitsgebot, and it's slightly higher in the ABV than I remember it, 6%. But it's a really nice beer. I am going to give that on the premise that I used to drink this like it was going out of fashion, and on occasion I would be trying to get it into my ear rolls because I felt sick. Yeah, I know. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I have to, because it's not the best wheat beer in the world, but I've drank this on occasion, and it's, you know, it just gets better and better the more you drink. And, you know, I'm here to review beers. I'm not here to encourage people to drink as much beer as they can get inside them. But I'm not going to lie to you, I've drank fucking bottles of this stuff, you know, probably sort of 8 or 9 without even knowing it. You know, when you tie it up, or you get your bill the next day, or the bank statement, or you see the receipt, and you've got 8 or 9 bottles of it, and no one else is drinking it, you know it's only you that's been drinking it. Well, you know, you can't argue with that, the evidence is there. But yeah, it's one of them solid wheat beers that if you like the taste of it, that will do you all night. I bear no responsibility for what's going to happen in the morning, but there you go. For me, that's a 10 out of 10. That is recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.